Hello and welcome to Breakthroughs in Depression and Anxiety. I'm your host. My name is Mick Maley. So this is kind of an introductory episode. This is not even the first episode. So I think they classify it kind of as number zero. So I guess that's just what we'll go with. So the first thing I'm going to say is who I am. I'm just kind of your average Joe. I'm married, I have kids, and I work a 9 to 5 job. So what makes me qualified to do such a podcast? Well, I'm probably technically not, but I have suffered from depression and anxiety, and once you do, you tend to continue suffering from it. So throughout the years of suffering through this, I've done extensive research on the subject, mostly depression, but I think they kind of go hand in hand in a lot of ways. So podcasting, I decided to do it because generally when I get feeling down, I kind of tend to like to listen to things in the car, and I kept looking for podcasts that would tell me, where the research is going, because that kind of soothes me, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the podcast. Because when I get depressed, I get very much in the mood to try to find cures. That's kind of my way of coping with depression. I don't know if anyone else is this way, but this podcast is for hopefully those people and more. But yeah, when I was looking for podcasts, I think the best thing I found were of doctors, and all they ever tend to like to talk about is SSRIs, which to me is kind of a beaten subject at this point. So I have documented all my findings over the years that I have been doing research on this. So the only obstacle to this podcast is my time. And speaking of doctors, the funny thing is, when I've gone to them and I've talked to them about these things, and if they know about it, some of the things I'm going to be discussing even today and in the future, they don't know anything about them at all. All they tend to know about is what's approved by the FDA, which is basically one thing. But most of all, I've been through the deep, dark days of depression, and I want to give hope to people who are suffering through that right now. I want to give awareness to new breakthroughs to hopefully get them more funding, because there are so many of them out there, and it's not cancer, folks. It doesn't get the same kind of funding cancer gets. So this podcast will be about emerging depression and anxiety treatments and cures, whether it be natural, device-based, or pharmaceutical. And I guess sometimes we may sneak in some behavioral in there. But I am focusing on things that most people know nothing about. And the sad part is, as I said before, doctors don't either. It will also contain updates on things that I've tried personally and news stories concerning mental health, like depression, anxiety. And it also, you might have some interviews of people sometimes, hopefully, especially people that might be in the industry, fellow sufferers of depression, and generally uplifting news that should help you get some hope and optimism. So I expect to be doing this podcast at least 2 times a month. It takes a while to do the research, so that's one of the biggest obstacles in coming out, with new episodes. But I'm going to try to do my best to be consistent. I think new episodes should be coming out every Wednesday or every other Wednesday. So just a little bit more about me, I guess. When I was in high school, I suffered my first deep bout of depression. I think my whole childhood was kind of rife with worrying and being scared about things. I remember going back and it's kind of funny that I always worried about getting AIDS or some silly things like this when I was very young. So it was 17 when I got my first bout of depression, and it lasted maybe a year or two. It kind of went away when I went to college for a bit, and I thought it was great because I thought it was over, and I thought it'd never happen again. Little did I know, it's a gift that keeps on giving. So, through my 20s, I tended to come up and down. On a year and a half, I'd be down. Year and a half, 2 years, I'd be up. It kind of continued that way for quite a while, and still continues now. It's changed a little bit to where it's seems like the downs maybe aren't as bad, or maybe I just haven't hit rock bottom in a while. But I know there's still a lot of work to do, which is why I'm always looking into new potential cures for depression. So why should I subscribe? What is in it for you? I intend to make the podcast as lighthearted as possible given the subject matter. So if you or someone you love has this illness, I think the podcast is a must. I hope we'll see about that in the future. You guys can contact me if you have any ideas or suggestions for show topics or whatever you want to talk about. Please contact me at breakthroughindepression@gmail.com. Thank you, and I look forward to spending time with you in the future.